and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 42 of In the Frame podcast. With us today, we have Stormie, videographer from San Diego. From Cleveland, Ohio.
LeBron James is rolling over right now.
Let's go. First things first. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
That's good stuff.
There we go.
Stormie, dude, what is going on? Our first female videographer, content creator in the podcast.
Let's go.
How do you feel, I guess?
I feel extremely honored. Yeah, I've been following both of you guys for a while now on Instagram, and just honored to be in front of such an amazing videographer and photographer, and to be, I guess, representing the female essence on your podcast.
That's awesome.
Thanks for having me and creating space for it.
Hell yeah, because we don't personally, I know creators, but not like people that do photography or videography. I just know people that do like curate content, but like not in like our world. More like, I don't even know how to describe it, but
influencer.
Yeah, I mean, are those? I guess
it's a blurry line.
I guess, yeah,
it's
exactly.
A blurry line.
But I'm talking about people behind the camera that are actually, they know their camera settings. They go full manual mode. They know lenses and whatnot. Like we don't know too many of those. And the fact that you just popped up on Instagram somehow randomly, and I'm like, oh shit, like fuck it, give it a follow. Like hell yeah, like we want to like branch out a little bit more. And the fact that you're now here sitting, we've been trying to make this happen for a few weeks now, but now that you're sitting here, is like, it's fucking dope.
Yeah, it's surreal. I can only say it's surreal. I never thought that growing up in Cleveland, Ohio.
So let's start from the beginning. Here. So where are you from, and how did you get in this creative space?
Okay, so I'm Stormie from Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm going to do a long story short, but it is an interesting story.
Please do tell.
So I grew up in a small suburban town, and I would say I've always been a very creative, artistic person. That part of Cleveland, everything below it is cornfields. It's straight cornfields. But the city of Cleveland is there's a lot of ingenuity and creativity there because we got nothing to do. We got no mountains. We got no beaches.
We're got college football. That's it.
We just got college football, and we burn buses occasionally. And so I grew up in the school, and I love photography and video, actually. I've always loved film, and I grew up a YouTube kid back when there was like random videos that went viral there, not just travel vlogs or what have you, like more artistic things. And I just didn't have anybody that did photo and video around me. So I had a camera, but I never went into anything other than auto settings and what have you. So I graduated high school, and I decided I'm going to go on a gap year to New Zealand because my family, they weren't legacies of anything. They were older. They didn't have any plan for me, but, I had done well in school. I'm just going to go for a year off. I don't know what I want to do. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I don't want to waste $60,000. I'll just go.
And what was your profession, if you want to say? Like, were you just working like regular jobs or?
Yeah, so I went over, and I had one contact over there, and I just said, as long as I got a legal working holiday visa that I applied for, if I just work a minimum wage job, even in a grocery store, I have enough savings and what have you to just make it work somehow.
Right.
Even if I dip below a certain amount of savings, I'll just fly home and I have that emergency fund.
Right.
So I hitchhiked around the country and I worked in a lot of hostels and hotels.
Wait, how old are you? How old are you right now?
So I'm 23 years old. Yeah.
So how old are you? How old were you then when you were doing this hitchhiking?
So I was 18. Yeah.
Wait,
I think I gave my parents a heart attack.
So you said New Zealand?
Yeah, New Zealand.
That's his dream spot.
That's my fiance's in mind. Like,
are you guys Lord of the Rings fans?
No,
is that why?
No, we both happen to like it there, and not a lot of people go there because it's obviously expensive. So elaborate more. Like, okay, you get to New Zealand, and then what?
So I get to New Zealand. I'm staying with this pastor in this place called Queenstown, and fresh 18-year-old, never been really much outside of Cleveland, and I'm meeting people from Italy and Europe, and my mind's just completely expanding.
Right.
And I met this girl in this hostel, and she's like, yeah, I've been hitchhiking around. She's probably 30, like older, well-traveled. And I remember I was walking along the town, and I see her on the beach, and I jump over this barrier, and I say, how did you hitchhike? Tell me what you did. And I think this will trail over into like videography, kind of the same sentiments as well. And she kind of told me, like, you take a picture of the license plate and you do it in a safe way, but it's like the 70s. My parents, they're 65. They're a bit older now that I'm 23. They hitchhiked back when it was considered safe in the States.
Sure. I did a fair share hitchhiking in Mexico, so I kind of get it.
Oh, let's share some hitchhiking stories.
Oh, was that the cartel?
Yeah. No, so it was great. Anyway, it was great. I learned a lot. I lived vicariously through a lot of people who had, lived longer than I had and who had made mistakes. And I think an 18-year-old in America, if you go straight to college, you're just getting the life stories of people who are also 18 years old who maybe haven't made as many mistakes.
Right. So you're getting real world experience.
And I wanted to test American education. I had a teacher, Mr. Gaba, if you're listening to this.
There it is.
Here goes the middle finger.
If you go to Gap, my pointer finger. If you go to New Zealand, aren't you worried that you're going to be behind in the race for jobs?
Sure.
And I told Mr. Gaba, I said, listen, if I lose my job to a 24-year-old and I'm 23, I will take back everything I ever said about going on this gap year and what have you. So it's pretty cool now. But anyway, I just wanted to test American education. I wanted to live a year raw and edit it. I went off all social media.
Really?
I wanted it to be the people that I met and the experiences that I did. I wanted it to be not motivated by anything except for living purely in the moment.
Right.
I thought that was so important. And I thought it was at the same time, 2016, as you guys have maybe seen, the YouTube wave of travel vloggers.
Yeah.
That's when everything popped off. And people who got into that scene early, I mean, they're famous today.
Lost
they
LeBlanc,
are getting
Sam
people,
Colder,
Louis.
Yeah.
Louis, yeah.
So I saw that happening and I considered it. I had a Canon at the time, like a T3i. And I just said, no, for 1 year of my life, just go off the grid.
Literally.
So, and that year would later affect everything and every way that I kind of run my life. I got back from that year and then took sequential gap years. I was enrolled in school, but I just still didn't know what I wanted to do.
What were you studying?
So I originally wanted to study humanities.
Okay.
I grew up like Christian in Ohio and kind of like a more traditional childhood. And I was going to study humanities in Colorado. And then I ended up not doing that. And I think if I could go back now, I'd study journalism because I love documentary filmmaking. I love to write. But I lived in DC. I lived kind of other places. I worked for 2 years on the cruise ships, as I told you before. Mm-hmm. And I always had in the back of my mind, though, I'm going to continue to save if I want to go back to school, if I want to learn a trade, or if I want to invest in my own business. So
that's dope.
Kind of when COVID hit, I was like, let's take up videography. Let's do it. Let's finally do it.
Before we get to the videography, let's elaborate more on the the cruise you landed on. Like how was that experience? Is it kind of like that one show that Below Deck? Is it kind of like that, or I know it's a little off topic, guys, but fuck it, we're here.
So
how did you get into that? Like fuck it, let me try that.
How did you find that job?
Yeah.
All that.
So I was living in DC. This is my second gap year.
How many gap years are you? That's so tight.
I mean, I guess my life is just a perpetual gap year at this point.
Sure.
And I'm wondering, what the hell am I going to do with my life? Working for minimum wage. And I'm like, I love to travel and I love a community aspect. I felt like the community aspect, I think you had said like you had gone to college and had that community you felt like when you were there. Yeah. And I wanted that. So I was like, cruise ships might be a good option for me to go to. And
right.
It is a runaround to get that job. It is not hard to be qualified. If you can talk on a microphone, you are qualified for that job.
Say less.
To get your foot on the deck is difficult. So
no, you're good.
Beer. What kind of beer is this?
No free ads. No free ads. Chill.
Brother's going it.
Okay, you're chill.
So you get on. How do you even get on the cruise ship in the first place?
Okay, so I applied 3 different ways. First, you just apply the traditional way. Cruise ships, carnivalcruiselines.com. Activity host. I want to be activity host because you kind of are jack of all trades. And get to do all the fun competitions on board. And applied traditional, sent in my resume, didn't hear anything back for, I think, a month.
Sure.
Okay. And I was like, okay, like maybe there's another way. And so I found this recruitment agency, which is like a middleman, like an affiliate for Carnival Cruise Lines. And I sent her my resume. We love you. We love your resume. I ended up making this cheesy video of me like hosting how to paddleboard because I was working for a paddleboard company at that time. Gotcha. And sang a weird little thing on my ukulele. It was really cheesy and I deleted it off my hard drive eternally. You can find it nowhere. You can't find it anywhere.
Well,
we all have those videos, right?
Of course.
We put unlisted on YouTube and we hope they're gone from cyberspace.
Yeah.
And we love you, but there's like a huge waiting list. I waited another month. And finally, I saw on Facebook on this group, we're having live auditions in Toronto, Ontario. So I was like, I messaged my affiliate and said, well, I'm 7 hours from there, from Cleveland. Is there any way you can get me on this list? I can drive up. And she said, yeah, actually I can. I'll put you on the list. Drive up like May 1st. Drove up to Toronto, the worst traffic I've ever experienced in my life.
Damn.
Canadians, you say you have a relaxed life. It's not true in Toronto.
Six.
Tried out.
DUI?
And now, 3 months later, I had my foot on deck. You're not sure that you have the job until your foot touches the deck.
Right.
And I get on board, and it's the Wild West out there. It's like nothing that you could ever imagine. You can't compare anything to it like it on land. You work every day for 6 months.
But you do see the world, though, right?
You see the world. You travel to Puerto Rico and Cozumel, and you get to get off the ship for a few hours. You see guests that are just like in pure vacation mode at its finest, throwing microphones at you, drunker than you've ever seen them. Damn. You really saw all of it. So everyone should go on a cruise once in their life, no matter who you are, whether you like mountains or like beaches or your preferred vacation, just once you should go.
Dope. So like once you did your, would you do like what, 6 months or?
So my first contract I did 7 months, and I didn't pace myself at the crew bar.
What do you mean you didn't pace yourself?
So we have this crew bar, right? For all the members, there's like 1,000 crew, 3,000 guests, and drinks are $1 for crew members.
Damn.
And it's crew only. So
you went ham.
Yeah, so I went. I didn't go to college, so I missed out on that period of my life, and I felt like a little bit of FOMO. So
you walled out.
You go till 5 a.m. and then you wake up at 6 a.m. to let all the guests off the cruise ships. And you do that for 7 months, and it catches up to you, surprisingly.
Yeah. So once you get off, once you're like, all right, I'm over the crew life, what's your next step? And how old are you, by the way, when you're at this point?
So the way I got over cruise life was not my choice.
Okay.
COVID hit.
No, you got fired. Just kidding.
No.
It's like, you're drinking too much, girl. You gone.
I'm trying to remember if there's any point where I thought I would be fired. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so COVID hits. So
but
this is recent then. This is last year.
This is recent. So March 8th, my 6 month contract ends out of Miami. We did Puerto Rico and St. Thomas, beautiful destinations, Belize. And COVID hits and my contract ends and I go back home, and then we really feel the gravity on the cruise ship. Everything is like a bubble. You're not really hearing about politics or any of that. Nothing really matters.
Right.
So we didn't really know the severity of COVID. I get off, I go home. I find myself living with my parents after 5 years, kind of traveling on my own. And I have another friend from Montenegro, Sonia, who got stuck on board for 100 days. They locked anyone they took all the guests off. And at first I was really jealous. I was like, a cruise with no guest? We get to go to all the areas that we didn't get to go before. Yeah, right. We get to go down the water slide. Yeah, right. We get to have tacos. It was the best. But then, the dark disposition of literally being in a floating jail cell on the ocean kicks in. Damn. And there's no help from the government. Just kind of disparity and loneliness and boredom. Mm-hmm. So I was very lucky that I had just missed it by 3 days, just grazed being stuck on board. But at the same time, I found myself back home in Cleveland with my family, who I love dearly, but that's not exactly where I pictured spending all of quarantine and how long that was going to be. So me and my friend a few years ago, we had done a road trip all around the states from Cleveland. So we went to Utah and up around LA, and then back to Wyoming and back. And so we completely missed San Diego. Yeah. Honestly, you don't really hear about San Diego too much. It's mostly San Francisco.
Southern California is like LA. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, well, I want to surf. I learned to surf in between contracts a few years ago. And I can go anywhere in the States because now I have savings from my cruise contract. Where do I want to go? Oh, San Diego, you can surf. I don't want to go to LA because it's kind of this dog-eat-dog world, like fast-paced mentality. And the more I looked it up...
Plus, the time it was very, very shut down, too, over there.
Yeah. Also, it's like a ghost town over there. I've been there. San Diego's a little bit more relaxed.
It's a little bit more chill.
And that's why I think I resonated with it. And when I researched more of it, it was like opening up a Christmas present. It was like, what? It has this, and they included this. So
San Diego's very low key, man. I feel
really
like
cool.
It's still a hidden gem in America.
And you're born and raised here, Alberto, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. And could you ever imagine living somewhere else? I mean, where else would you go?
The only place I could think of myself living would be like possibly LA if like the demand is crazy there, because I've been like lured to go there right now, but it's like.
But would that be only work motivated, or would that also be
Only
lifestyle
work motivated.
Like
lifestyle, I don't see myself. I don't like it. It's too spread out. Traffic is insane, of course. I mean, traffic is already bad here, let alone LA.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the beaches here are just kick ass compared to there.
I always tell Alberto this. I'm like, we always used to travel. And it's like, dude, I can't wait to go home. Like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is back home. All it is different tint in the water, but yeah, this is the place to be. Like, and I feel like a lot of people now are like transplanting here because they're trying.
I love that word, transplant.
I know there's a lot of transplants here. Like a lot of people say, like
it is. San Diego's multi-pot. It's a
why
military.
Don't you guys
base.
have a football team?
Yeah.
Why is your home team like have a bunch of other fans? Because everybody wants to be here.
Not just that, but like there's a lot of shit to do in San Diego.
Yes.
Like not everybody.
Snow.
And this is no offense to like the Midwest or whatever.
Yeah.
Like not everyone gives a fuck about football. Like here in San Diego, we could fucking surf. You could do hiking.
Yep.
You could fucking drive 2 hours and snowboard. There's just so much you could do in San Diego compared to like one town that just sports. Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived in, when I guess to tangent off of that, when I first came, I lived in a hostel for 6 months on 8th Avenue.
Damn, how was that?
That was interesting. So I've worked in about 5 hostels between New Zealand and other travels. So It was kind of nothing new. But I just knew I wanted to come and not spend a whole ton of money figuring out my next chapter in life. So if you're watching this and you love to travel, it's really common that you can often email a hostel and say, can I work 5 hours a day, 4 hours a day, housekeeping, reception, in exchange for accommodation? And you can go to Barcelona, the hub of Barcelona. You can go to the hub of Amsterdam, places that maybe would be intangible otherwise, and live there for 6 months and experience that lifestyle. So
yeah, I do remember doing my Euro trip, and the people that would work at the hostels, they weren't even from the country. They're just like, hey, I'm just traveling here. I'm just here for 6 months. Decided to do a few hours here just to stay for free. So that's definitely a little pro tip right there if you plan on traveling.
yeah.
So once you get to San Diego and like you're in the hostel, how do you come about to like, okay, I want to do videography, photography, or whatever you want to do?
Yeah, because you had mentioned that you were messing with the T3i, Canon T3i.
Yeah, that was years.
And are you still messing
ago.
with cameras the entire time, or is it just like just to have there and you never mess with it?
No, I would say I didn't. It was all like auto settings, and I had brought it on the cruise ship with me and didn't take one photo on it.
Yikes.
I had an iPhone like 5C that I would take my little photos on with my crew member in the crew bar and things like this. So as far as
what
really
made you like,
into,
what made you like, okay, I wanna grasp this camera thing and make it into a living thing?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know if you guys experienced it, but during COVID, I think there was a deep depression and swirl of, for everyone was had to kind of pivot, like what is going on in the world. Everything is at a standstill, especially in videography and photography and what have you. You don't have the subjects to interact with. So I let myself kind of just just mel on my savings and let time kind of come to me. And I've always loved documentary and film, and I thought, well, why not get to know? I always thought, it's funny, I think this is how most people view photo and video, is it's kind of like hieroglyphics. There's a big learning curve when you're first starting out, and then everything sequentially is like, I can just build on this skill.
Right.
But learning aperture and exposing correctly and frame rates is very
the triangle
difficult
exposure.
growing up. The triangle exposure.
Yeah. He's still trying to learn that shit.
Yeah.
Look, it got him off guard.
I'll drink to that.
So you get to San Diego, and what makes you like, okay, like I'm gonna go?
So I joined on accident an MLM, which I thought
an MLM.
I'm gonna keep that short, but I thought I had a good enough intuition not to join the MLM.
Explain that to the creative game member.
I don't know what that is.
Multi-level marketing, aka a pyramid scheme.
Really?
You know, okay, so pyramid schemes are very apparent in the terms of like body wraps and your auntie trying to sell you like, I don't know, this like band that will give you 3D vision at all times and what have you. So multi-level marketing is basically, pyramid scheme is when they're just selling recruitment and that's it. Multi-level marketing is when they are selling a product and they're selling recruitment, but the product is kind of bullshit and it mostly ends up making you turn towards recruitment. So the moment I found out that, I was in a very short amount of time, the moment I found out that that's what it was, I told the person that I'm
Wow.
not about this.
Dude, I remember I got caught one of those one time.
Yeah, because and I think there was a lot
At
of
a young age too.
Yeah,
I was there
at
for
a
your
young
fucking
age.
meeting.
I'm 23.
I was
You guys are
like my
30.
parents are like, bro, like you're gonna learn. You're just so young. Like you think
Yeah.
you think this is
That
it.
lawyer
Like,
shit,
yeah.
Well, my dad does affiliate marketing, like
Okay.
legit affiliate marketing, and makes a good living off of it. So when I heard of the word affiliate marketing, I'm like, I know this is a legit business. And it is a legit business, being the middleman between two good things. But the way that it was structured, they were just too young in their endeavor, in their business plan, that I think it started with good intentions. And I guess can happen with a lot of things in life. Good intentions, but spiraled into greed and corruption.
It's good old capitalism
very
for
fast. I guess so. Yeah. We
you. Okay,
can't
so
all be
you got into
socialists.
that, and somehow you got into cameras.
Yeah, we'll go back into cameras. I went off on a tangent. So yes, after that failed, money flunked things to start COVID, because I think I had FOMO from not doing college. And I think that's what, I don't know if you've struggled with that as well, but you feel like you're not legitimate in things until you get a degree and you're like, I want to try and do it another way. And you realize like, wow, there actually are not a lot of options. So I was like, okay, videography. And growing up in the YouTube scene, I realized like, luckily in the 21st century, I can learn everything I need to know on YouTube.
Perfect.
And I think I've watched, I bought my camera. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, it's so expensive to buy the gear. I'm going to buy all the gear and then I'm indebted to it. And then I have to learn it. I have no other shiny object syndrome. I can go away from it. And I ended up watching probably 2,000 YouTube videos.
So what did you buy?
So I bought an A6000 at first. And then I realized I didn't have any audio capabilities. So I then upgraded to the A6400.
That's Sony, guys, by the way.
Yeah, Sony. I don't know why I chose Sony. I think so many people choose Canon, but I've always been a rebel with no cause. So I just wanted to choose Sony. What was your guys' reason for choosing Sony?
I like it because I was small and compact. Because I
Okay.
did it mainly for travel stuff, travel related stuff, and it has amazing video. At the time, at 2021, like every camera has great video functions, but at the time, like 4 years ago, not all cameras were created the same and equal. So like the Sonys had amazing video capabilities compared to Canons at that time, and that's why I stuck with Sony.
That's cap, bro. You saw me get the A6000. This
No.
was an Nikon head, and I remember Fun for Louis was like, "Oh, Sony," because he had the A7S too when it barely came out, and I remember getting the A6000. And Alberto was shooting with the Nikon. I was like, shit, I might get the big brother.
The starter
A63.
D3300 or whatever.
And then I remember
It was my mom's camera, to be fair. It wasn't mine.
I got the
is
what
a
did I
mom
get?
brand.
The fucking the A6000 with the Gorilla Pod, all this like the
Wait,
fucking,
you got it all in one kit?
Yeah, no. I like
It's about it separate, but
my cousin worked at Best Buy, so he's like, "Why don't you get this, bro?" It's like
he just
70% off.
upsold him.
No, because he was
People at Best Buy, they can't know everything about everything.
he was getting everything 70% off. So like, if I got the E-mic E-mount, it was like $100, but I got it for $40.
Yeah.
So it was everything under his name, and I got it for like $700. Got the E-mount mic, the Gorilla Pod, the body, and the kit lens.
He thought he was gonna be a vlogger for a second.
And I was like, and I remember saying to Alberto, I'm like, dude, like, let's go. We went to Breakwater, we vlogged, and I
And
remember,
never
like,
went out.
yeah, I was like, yo, stick your hand out with the E-mount mic, and let me
Test
see,
it
like,
out.
test it out, and like talk, and like we were doing it, and then yeah, but that's how
That
we
did,
started.
that did branch my curiosity to Sony because I saw how small and compact. I'm like, dude, this is a
was
sick camera.
super
It's,
small.
compared to my mom's Nikon, it was so small. Like, holy shit! And then I did my research on YouTube, and I'm like, all right, I want better video features. I want to be like future proof. I want 4K, and 4K back then was rare. And so like 6300 was the main thing to go. This is before 6500.
Yeah.
So I got the 6300, and yeah, I've been rocking. I still got the 6300. It's right here. That's the one I'm playing right now. And then I eventually, once I got a little bit more serious, I got a full frame, which that's the next thing you need to do. Is
That's
get
the next thing that I'm gonna do, guys.
but Sony, just out of fun for Louis, like you said, he traveled also New Zealand, and he like did kind of what you did, like freestyled it, kind of like hitchhiked to like bands, like yo, like he like legit went to a band and was like, yo, I do videography, like would you trade for like shelter?
Yeah.
And he went like and got shelter for video, and that's how he got started.
So you straight out just be like, all right, let me try videography. Just threw a dart out there.
Yeah.
That's
basically.
that's like the first time I've ever heard that.
And I think because I've always had an artistic eye, so I've always been, when I thought about humanities as well, I also thought about journalism. I've always been a very good writer and a very good in my mind, I would listen to, you know how you listen to a song and you picture the music video to that song?
Dude, every
Storyteller?
time.
I've always been that. But yeah, actually orally, and I think this is an uncomfortable thing, and a good uncomfortable thing for me is I've always been a bad, I think, oral storyteller. So videography was my way to express myself visually and comfortably and be able to edit. And same thing with like journalism. You're able to edit and refine your words versus when you get up there in public speak, not so much. And what attracted me about videography, I would say over photography, and Peter, you may disagree. I've always been a big fan of Vice. If you've seen them on YouTube, they're kind of like the video journalism voice there.
Complex.
Grace Neutral is a great host on there. And I think more so than photo, video is kind of a tool for empathy. More so than a photo, you can hear the sounds and feel the emotion and hear the cries and the story of someone. And then I think that creates like an interchange within the viewer that can be like, oh, we're more related than we think we are, and can kind of be a catalyst for real action and real change of heart towards that person. So that's what attracted me about video, was the raw grit to it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Love that.
Yeah. So
as a female videographer, how have you seen like the climate in like the whole real estate how have you seen the videography world?
Is it like, do you feel like you go through any, like you have to go through hurdles? Because I mean, fuck it, we're here. Videography is more of a male dominant sport. So you being a female, like how has that been for you? Like as far as like a challenge?
Do you feel like it's an extra hurdle you have to go through? Like what do you feel? And
like express yourself as much as you can. Hey, this is open space. So
yeah. So in general, when I first came to San Diego, growing up in Cleveland, I was very scared. And I'm like, I'm about to enter this videography space, not just because it's male dominant, but in general because LA is associated with San Diego, Southern California. It's a dog-eat-dog world.
Sure.
And I was very intimidated. And I was like, who am I to even enter this space? Like, as my first year in videography. And what I found mostly with videographers in the area is I'm friends with most of them. Most of them are super cool.
Tight.
We all have our own individual style. There's plenty of work to go around, and they've been really sweet. What I found with clients is it either goes one or two ways. It's, oh my gosh, a female videographer. I want to hire you because you have that feminine intuition. You have a different perspective on things, which I appreciate, which is awesome that that's a thing. And so many people have paved the way for me to, I almost feel like it's too easy for me to enter it. People have told me, I'm doing a course by Mark Bone, a documentary course, and he's told me now is the perfect time to be an ethnic person and a woman in videography. People are looking for that for film festivals, and that's awesome. People have paved the way before me. Or it's gone the other way, where I think there's been an avenue, and I don't want a victim mentality here, is that it's been an easy avenue for people to take advantage of the fact that I'm a female in videography.
I could imagine that.
So elaborate a little bit more on Mark Bone. Who is he? I never heard of him.
Yeah, so I've always been a YouTube kid. Mark Bone is a documentary filmmaker, legitimate. He also directs ads for Nike as well as like small indie films. And I have always loved video journalism. I think video journalism is raw and gritty. My dream job, I think if I could project myself 5 years in the future, real estate is awesome. Doing things for brands is awesome. But if I could be sent off to like Korea to get some niche story of someone making...
You're more of a document filmmaker. That's like the goal you're trying to go for right now.
Long term. Yeah, the passion project. You know, you do what you can for, of course, income and a way of life, which I do think is real estate. And I am passionate about architecture. But, you know, you have those long-term goals in mind of what you see for yourself.
As you should.
After working on the cruise ships and interviewing people, and I just think living kind of a interesting upbringing and seeing kind of the raw truths of life, to go and to tell the story of the underdog in another country. People whose stories are not told because they don't have the finances to do so. Mm-hmm. That would be my goal. And that's, I think, what fits me and my personality best. So I signed up for this documentary course because I didn't go to college. People often are like, what? $500, $1,000 for a documentary course from a YouTuber? I'm like, I didn't go to college for $90,000 a year.
Who got
What's
scammed, buddy?
$1,000
Yeah.
to go and do that? You
Like
know,
Sam-
to possibly end
Sam-
up on
like Sam
Netflix.
Colder's-
What the heck, Sam Colder?
There's like
Yeah.
he charges like less than $2,000, like about $1,000.
Not even Buff Nerds charges like $3,000 for like 4 weeks or something.
Yeah, and a full-time filmmaker too.
Yeah.
They don't cost. It's fucking.
So
it's
what I
worth the
love
money.
about Sam Colder too is he actually only has like, compared to Peter McKinnon or some of the other YouTubers who we've probably all learned from at some point on YouTube, he only has like 1 million subscribers on YouTube, which I've never been a huge numbers person, but what I admire about him is he also takes a step back to just enjoy life. He is excellent artisan at his craft, but he also is like, well, fuck, like, I'm also going to enjoy life. I'm not going to just grind.
Yo, so fucking hilarious you're saying this because literally 2 episodes ago, Pete's
Hey.
killing
Hold
Sam
on,
Colder.
hold on.
Killing.
My
Yo,
boy.
fuck this
My
guy,
boy,
bro.
hold up.
All he does is ad videos.
My
He stopped
boy.
working. He fell
My
in
boy.
love. He
My
stopped
guy.
working.
Berto, we're recording this, but the episode has not gone live, so Stormie has not like listened to that yet. So
That says it 2 weeks ago.
fuck, what was I gonna say?
I mean, I'm not like, I am inspired by everybody, and I think like everyone, you put your own twist on it.
Right.
So I'm not total fangirl of anyone, but I can take inspiration from everybody.
Oh, of course. But going back to the Sam Colder thing, I do agree where we were discussing this, like, yo, like people expect, I feel like in this social media world, like you expect heat after heat after heat at a consistent rate. How are you going to go on Instagram? You got to post 4 or 5 pictures a week. You got to post stories
It's
every single
exhausting.
day.
It's
Yeah, it's a
hard.
freaking full-time job in order to grow, and
Yeah.
you're hoping you're going to grow. It doesn't just happen.
And then you have to worry about getting on Influencers of the Wild when you're actually doing legitimate work for people.
I've never worried about landing on Instagram or influencer in the wild. I always troll my friends. Like,
I didn't even hear about it till Stormie talked about like behind the scenes, off the record. We were talking about it. Like I told you, Stormie, like when me and Alberto used to skimboard, and like when we started getting into
she
it,
cannot stop.
she got the giggles.
It's the craziest stuff. You
Yeah.
do see some stuff that is notable to actually put on there.
But I feel like me and you maybe were on it like if we were to be on it like 5
Before
years
it got
ago.
cool.
Yeah. Like I would always tell Alberto, I'm like, dude, like they're looking at us, bro. It's like, don't fucking worry about it, Pete. Like just do it. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it.
But what's like the craziest thing you've ever done on a shoot where you thought like, is somebody looking at me?
Film this guy doing a 360 on a skateboard and the fucking pier right here, like at midday. Like
Did
yo,
you
they're-
pull off it? Did you pull it
Oh, man,
off?
facts. Come on.
Pull that
now.
off.
Like,
We
come
were
on,
like,
relax.
we kept telling each other like, yo, it's ESPN, bro. Just picture ESPN filming you, and go viral. Don't worry about it. That's legit what we
Because
said.
that's
We
the
thought we were
worst
gonna
when you
make
gotta
it.
have 50 takes to take it, and everybody knows like this guy can't really do it. He's just depending.
But
on
we
luck.
were that good, Stormie. Like we were like that good.
Don't
I
gas us
believe
up like
you.
that.
No, we were like,
We have
yo.
people at the pier literally just watching us.
Yeah, they were like just like leaning on the pier and be like, oh shit, what are they doing?
How many
Like,
takes?
no takes, like one
Yeah,
take.
man, come on now.
We were fucking dope. Like
yeah, chill,
like
chill,
we would
Hey, born and raised in
Gas
San
each
Diego.
other.
Yeah,
Okay.
true.
we would get each
We're
other.
getting off topic though.
Okay,
Fuck, what were we saying?
females in videography.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm honored. I'm extremely honored to be that you guys. I think Alberto and you reached out to me to kind of be the first female videographer on your podcast, and I'm so thankful for.
And I didn't know you were. I thought you were from here
Yeah,
until
I thought they
we
were
met
from-
you. Like, oh, you're from Cleveland.
Yeah,
What
and
the
that's
hell?
the goal. You do what the locals do, right? Like when I
Facts.
first got into videography, and I was so worried about having the website and having the LinkedIn and da 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 da. And this girl was like, just make an Instagram. And luckily, in the 21st century, there's so many facets to market there, and that's. You should have a website, but that's
Right.
all you technically need. To
Mine's
get
still
up
under
and
construction.
going. Yeah,
For the
under
past 6
construction.
months?
That's okay.
Boy.
That's all right. All you need is a few. All you need is a few good
Clicking
clients.
baits.
True.
But
But have you
yeah.
have you noticed any hurdles you have to like jump through? Like as far as you did mention like for some reason when I asked you the question, I assumed videographers would kind of like shove you around like, yo, fuck off.
yeah,
But you went the opposite way, like, yo, they're all my friends. We became friends.
yeah.
And the clients could be either amazing or dicks and take advantage of my gender, which is so stupid. I say.
And that's what's hard is separating. Are they taking advantage of me or pushing my boundaries because of my gender, or because they get an air that I'm newer at videography? Like, what is it, or the way that I'm conducting myself? And if I could give any advice for,
please do.
you know, female videographers in particularly, or videographers that are new in general, is to, you know, I'm always someone is that you should be who you are, but also you should kind of fake it till you make it and dress the part, hold an air to them, like, call them on the phone. And before a photo shoot, like, what I would do is just like, oh yeah, you want me to shoot at 2 p.m.? Okay, I just show up at 2 p.m. and I'm filming this house. I know I'm getting paid X amount of money. Like, hop on the phone with them and conduct yourself in a serious manner where you're like, hey, like, what needs to be featured in this house? What do you want the TV screens to look like? Okay, I'm going to be here for an hour, and anything outside of that hour, let me know, and then I will then adjust the price,
Right.
and I will adjust my pre-production thoughts to then match that. And I don't know if it was because I was female or because I was a newer videographer and maybe wasn't giving off that air, but I just felt like I've always been a very trusting person, which is hard because I realize that people will push your boundaries if you don't make them clear from the get-go. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, and I wish I had learned it sooner. But I'm kind of glad I went through it.
Damn,
So-
that's a real thing. Set the boundaries off the rip. And it's so hard because you don't want to take a chance of losing that potential client, especially if you're a hungry artist.
And I love what you said about being personable. Like, you got to call and be like, yo, this is my voice. Like, yo, dog, I'm serious. Like, let's do it.
Because I'm from the Midwest, right? So and I would say we take a different approach than Californians. I've worked with a lot of people born and raised. No offense taken, but we want to be everybody's friends. We say hi when we're on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You know, we want to go kind of above and beyond, undervalue, over deliver. But it gets to this point where it's like you give someone an inch and they take a mile.
Absolutely.
And when you're trying to pay your rent and make a living, and this is a serious craft that you put so much time and effort to so many people too. Another piece of advice is they're going to look at you, whether you do hourly, or I recommend starting out at package prices when you first start. They're going to be like, what? $50 an hour? You're making triple than a grocery store worker. It's not just about the hourly rate in terms of like you going there for an hour.
Right.
It's all the gear costs thousands of dollars. The software takes thousands of dollars. My favorite analogy, whether this is a real story or not, Vincent van Gogh walks into a cafe and some prestigious man asks him, hey, here's a napkin. Can you draw me a picture? And he draws the picture in 30 seconds. And the guy goes, well, how much is this going to cost? How much can I give you? And Vincent van Gogh goes, $5,000. And the guy goes, what? You're kidding me. For 30 seconds? $5,000? Like, that's more than I make, and da-da-da-da-da. And Vincent van Gogh goes, do you know how long that took me to be able to do it in 30 seconds? And I think that's how you can summarize
Bars of the fucking week.
Let's
go.
Yo, this girl out here spitting right now.
IGTV? Let's go.
Here comes our micro clip right here.
I thought about my little IGTV snippet from season.
Go.
If you make it in the minute, probably like 35, we're gonna get Wild Wild West in here, Wild and Out MTV.
Let's go.
No, like that. I've heard that. I've
You're
heard
gonna
that
have to put a
before.
lot
But
of
yeah,
views.
like it's something that it goes back to educating the client. Like, hey, dude, you're not paying for the 30, 45 minutes of shooting. 2 years ago, that shit would take me 3 hours. You're paying for my fucking expertise and my experience. Like,
And when I first started out, the clients that I partnered with that knew I was just starting out, because I think that's also important for your first set of clients, I told them, like, if something takes me 5 hours, but I know that if when I level up, it's going to take me 3 hours, I wouldn't increase the price. And that's, I don't know, that's something like when you're just starting out, you kind of want that more open relationship with your first like 3 clients.
right.
Just so you're like at ease with the editing process. But because you don't want to, if you're doing hourly, you don't want to be like, oh, this is going to take me 8 hours. It's then going to cost you $800 when a pro videographer could maybe do it in 30 minutes because you've reached that thing. So it's a balance.
I would stay away from the hourly rate, guys. If you're,
what would you recommend?
Dude, fucking, it's so hard to say. You got to figure out the project.
I would say stick with your Van Gogh. Like,
Yeah.
like, yo, like, this is taking me years, I feel like I can accomplish this in 2 hours when I know some newbie can do it in 5 hours.
Yeah.
I'm gonna charge you this much.
Yeah, I'm at the point where if I will not take a gig lower than X amount of dollars, like, yo, man, super interested in your project. Let's make something happen. Let's have a phone call. Let's talk about the real details and the finances, of course. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, man, this is my budget. It's $200. I'm like,
and this
bro,
is what
don't
I
make
admire.
me laugh right now. Like,
yeah,
I could send you this project to someone who could do it for $200, if anything. Like, to me, it's not worth it.
We've had past guests who, like, off record will tell us like
we'll you're putting on record right now.
Off record, we'll say numbers, and we're like, holy shit, like that sounds nice. Like,
yeah,
you should keep with that.
Yeah,
and then they'll tell us like, I don't know if they're gonna go for it. I'm like, dude, keep with that number.
Yeah,
because it's worth your time.
Yeah, and this is what I admire about, I think, the videography community is, like, obviously you're not gonna give off all the tricks of the trade. You're not gonna tell everyone exactly what. I think a lot of videographers don't put the prices out there. Like, there's some secrecy to it, but there is also a lot of, like, constructive openness about, like, bro, like, hey, listen, if we all do $50 shoots, etc., if we all undervalue ourselves, that's also gonna lead to the undervalue of myself. Because that's gonna trickle down, and they're gonna show up. I'm gonna show up to a shoot with Alberto and then be like, oh, well, I know Stormie will do this for $35.
No, and that's something
we stress.
Yes,
so that's why I feel like in San Diego especially, we all have each other's backs in some capacity in terms of, like, yo, I'm not gonna tell you everything that I'm doing, but you should value yourself in general.
Yeah, that's something I stress on this podcast.
We preach that.
We're like, if you're a photographer and have experience, like, don't charge under $150 for a session.
And even
that's a la carte. Yeah. That's a la carte. Like,
so how did you guys learn how to price? Did someone tell you this, or what happened?
Experience.
Tell me.
Experience. It's hard to say.
Being behind that computer and being like, I'm spending 3 hours, bro, and I charge $200.
It's the hardest thing.
And you get to know it, and you want to reciprocate that to other creatives. Who are like, yo, I spent this much of hours and I charged only $200, and I gave 10 photos, and till this day, I see people saying, I'm having a $50 special, 20 photos for a 2-hour session. I'm like, what the fuck?
Does that kill you? It just kills you.
Clearly, look at his expression.
At the beginning, it did kill me, and I wanted to.
What did LUTs do to you? What did like apps like Visco and
nothing really?
Shit like
I saw the trend.
Photos a different beast.
No, like, I'm glad you brought that up. Like LUTs or like orange purple rain or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
The blown
You're bringing up Prince into this? Jesus, Prince is rolling
like
over in his grave.
Overexposed orange look was like, oh, I'm seeing this a lot.
It still is the trend right now.
And what do you know? Like, those people.
I think people are bored of it.
Yeah, no, they're becoming bored of it. They're becoming like, yo, dog, like they charge me $200 for like 3-hour session and 30 photos, and I see fucking 40 motherfuckers out there with the same photos as me.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? Like, they're kind of evolving off of that, and then that's when I told Alberto, I'm like, I need to do something to like separate myself from this, and that's when I picked up the light game and all this.
So what I noticed too is, I think, using in conjunction. So, for example, I do videography mainly, and I would like to do videography mainly, but I do go off and I do the photography, and I enjoy the photography every once in a while. But I see like you two work in conjunction with each other, whereas a photographer complements a videographer. Yeah. Would you recommend that kind of yin and yang exists in a professional relationship for other?
That goes to like
yo, call me that COVID, bro.
That's like more like because I've said this in the podcast before. Like, Alberto's been my ride or die. He's opened doors with me. He's opened doors for me that I haven't accepted because that was my ego, right? I said no, and this is my time to be like, okay, now I'm at a level where like, hey, like, come, like, it's a client where it's high enough to where you can benefit. Come with me and offer them something that they can be like, okay, like, I like this dog's like work. Like, he's a beast. Let me hire you. And he's been offered maybe not his price, but either way, like, I'm still doing a service. I'm paying paying that service forth. I'm like, yo, like, you help me out, let me help you out.
And it's like you're spreading my name too. Yeah. So that's like the real value outside of the money exchange.
Even though he doesn't get the job, like, because it's not worth his time, like, he's like getting his name out there.
What do you say? And have you ever been asked, oh, can you do this job just for exposure?
Oh yeah, I literally respond with the LOL. Yeah. I'm like, exposure don't pay bills, bro.
Me and Alberto are at the point where like exposure,
dude. I'm past that point.
Don't
like,
do that. Don't.
And going back to what you're saying, like, how do you like know when you rate yourself? Once you stop thinking about the money and you start valuing your time more than the money, dude. Like my time is everything. Like if I spend time with somebody, it was like in the back of my mind is like, bro, like. You got to be special because I'm spending fucking my time with you where I could be doing this instead of, you know? So it's like once you start valuing your time a lot more, things fucking switch and change for you.
I feel like at this point now we're like, if somebody were to be like, yo, my exposure is your pay.
It's an insult.
You got to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
You got to be a celebrity with.
You got to be like The Rock.
So insulting.
Yeah. But at this point, me and Alberto at the point where like me and him would be like, yo, like this is an exposure thing. We should go LOL.
So how do you get across the value? And I think that's, if anything that I could say to new videographers, that's the hardest thing for me is even as an artistic person, when I then took up videography and learned what entailed in the post-production, my mind was blown. And I consider myself an artistic person. So getting across that value to someone who has no foot in the realm of artisan craft, what have you, how do you do that?
Wait. So you're saying when is it?
How do you get across the value of what you do and how you've perfected your craft?
I feel like
and why it's X amount of money.
That's kind of to interpretation. For me, it was when can I have 3 shoots a month where I can pay my rent? Granted, my rent is split with my girl, right? So I pay a hefty amount because I live by the beach. So if I can make my rent in 3 shoots, that's worth my time.
That's a W.
Yeah. And like Alberto says, like Alberto's throwing clients at me and being like, nah, bro, like I'm good. I don't want to tell Alberto like, don't, like, this is not worth my time.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'll take clients who are like, in a month, I can pay my rent because that's worth my time and my investment. And I've talked about this in the pod where like I put a lot of time and sacrifice into my edits where I make them as unique as possible. I make them a piece of art. Like, you know what I mean? And if it's that, I feel it's enough. So that's for me, like where I can suffice my rent, and then that's when I make it worth. Anything above that, of course, I can take more work. But right now, like I've talked to past potters, like it's.
But how do you show your clients that this is worth X amount? It's worth every cent of X amount of money.
Oh, just like by telling me your rate. Recently, like if you heard the past potters, I charge a la carte, so I charge a session fee, no photos included.
Yeah.
Yo, this is my session fee for an hour. As many fits you can fit in this hour. This is what I charge. Past that, per photo, this is what it costs.
Well, when people say like, "Oh man, I could just slap a LUT on that raw photo," like, what is your
rebuttal?
Yeah.
I tell them I was like, my Alberto and my rebuttal has been, I can refer you to another person. And then if you like their work, that's enough. That fits your budget. Me and him have been in this fucking universe for a long time. So we can rebuttal with a lot of workers who we feel as not to talk shit to the work, but like we feel like, hey man, like this fits your style and this fits your budget. Like let's do that. Obviously there's realms to all that level, like a budgeting and
when you say this to them, are you feeling any qualm as well? I think when I first started out, I was like, I want to be their friend. I want to be a philanthropist. I want to help them.
Well, you're being their friend. You are being their friend. Stormie, you gotta remember that you're helping them either way by recommending them somebody that you think is a plan B. And that's the way I think about it. I don't think about it as like, damn, you can't afford me. Like, fuck, go with this fucking C level. No, it's like a B level. And there's plenty of people who are learning, and that's the part where you come up with where like, how much are you charging, bro? Don't charge that. Like keep the market a stable place. Like
that's why it's really frustrating when I see people that do video for $300 I'm like, bro,
know your fucking worth, bro.
Like your work is worth way more. Is worth way more than $1,000 just off the rip.
And when I entered, I was actually always been aware of how am I affecting the market, because I remember I saw this graph and it was like majority of videographers are making this, and there's like not really a middle class, and the other videographers are making this, and I'm like, let's build the fucking like middle class. Like,
I gotta see
why
this
the
graph.
fuck is that?
I gotta see this graph.
Yeah, no, and maybe it's not so true because like people don't report the things, but
Right.
yeah, like we're in it for each other, and like it's not like we're in it for each other and like we're just like driving up the price for no reason. It's like it is worth that amount of money.
Yeah.
Like it is a profession.
There
It
was
should be
there-
taken seriously.
There was a point where music videos would cost legit $50,000 to $100,000, and
I
now
miss-
they're worth
I
like.
wish I had grown up in the Paramore days when those videos were
Yeah, and now music videos could be worth up to $300.
Imagine
like,
doing a video for Blink 182 and getting paid like
scrap-
$20,000 to do it.
bro.
That would
Like,
have been cool.
And like Stormie, like I said, like I've seen your work recently, and like your color grading has gone up.
the
And-
quality in
Thank
general,
you.
like
And I was
seriously,
like,
the
whoa.
fact that you're just the
Thanks.
fact that you're saying that you just started when COVID started is like, bro, it's just kind of mind blowing to
Yeah.
me.
And I do feel like I've ran very hard to get to where I am. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of trial and error, a lot of
course.
mistakes. And getting out there and again to new videographers is get out there and do overexposed shots. Like if you even know what that is, and make mistakes and film anything and everything. Film the person making the flowers at the farmer's market, because that was my first video, an overexposed flower market in Italy.
But you learned that lesson though, like, oh,
Yeah.
now I know never to overexpose.
Yeah.
And then it's so ingrained.
Yeah,
in
and
your
now I
head.
need to figure out how to read an
Yeah.
histogram. And once you read that histogram, you'll never overexpose yourself.
Thank God I didn't just buy a course and buy the very best gear. Like I bought the A6400, which is like professional, but
yeah.
it's no like red or
Right.
like what have you that people think you need to make.
I'll tell you this much: like
and-
when I saw your footage,
Yeah.
like your recently one with that drink,
Oh, that shit was
Babe
hard.
Kombucha.
I was
Shout
like-
out
I
Babe
was-
Kombucha.
I was like-
I love it. I really do.
I was like, you shot that with A6400? Like I was on a DV and like, what the fuck is that? Like
And
what?
so this is another thing from videographers. I'm sorry, but a lot of people ask me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, they'll first compliment me. They'll say your video was so good. I loved your video," and then they'll ask me, "What lens did you use? Lenses, and what camera did you use?" I'll tell them one lens, and I'll tell them my A6400, and then all of a sudden they say, "Oh my gosh, you're not using the A7S3. Oh my gosh, like you need to upgrade your gear." I'm like, wait a minute, you just complimented my work.
And now you're talking
prior
shit about
to
gear.
knowing
Now you're backtracking?
what I even use. So
Boy!
it really is about the content. And I purposely did that. I was like, I feel like we've lost a bit of the ingenuity in terms of we got all these,
Definitely.
no offense, but trust fund babies buying the best gear, the best gimbal, the best drone, and they're making low than par work. They're
Yeah.
making the most simplistic shit ever.
It's like the most like
and they're
it's like the
Yeah.
one-on-one shit. Like people think like the gear, they think gear, expensive, fancy gear is gonna make the great product. Like, bro, like I could literally make a
Yeah.
dope video with my fucking iPhone 11. Like, it give me any fucking camera, a foreign camera, a Nikon or a freaking Canon. I could make some fucking heat.
So do you guys think that iPhones will surpass videography? A true camera?
I
No,
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not in the near future. Yeah,
you
they're
can definitely
great
tell.
cameras, but like there is a drastic difference when it comes to the image. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like a full
Depth of
frame
field.
sensor, the depth of field.
Yeah.
It's like everything to me. Like
When I see those reels were like captured on the iPhone 12,
but
like,
they're
this is
trying
how
to
you make-
they're trying to sell to
Yeah.
a younger audience
Yeah.
that doesn't have that budget to spend $1,000 on a camera or $500 on a camera.
Exactly.
Everyone has an iPhone.
But I think it all boils down to seriousness, because I will say I have lost clients to the iPhone 12, but
that's so whack.
but the fact is, and this is what I've told clients that I also work with social media with, is how serious are you about your brand and about the return on investment and about, you know, how people perceive you? Because I didn't believe this before, but perception is everything. So if everybody knows you're just taking your pictures on your iPhone 12 and you're not actually hiring someone who has like the eye and the perspective and the tailoring of what you need and what your brand is,
Sure.
how serious are people going to take you and your
Right.
business, and what is the return on investment for that? So
That's one thing I do on my visuals account, my professional account. I always ask the question to my audience, like, are you ready to elevate yourself? Are you ready to elevate your content from a typical iPhone to something and someone him or her that has a vision and knows how to fucking get to the level that you're trying to get to besides a typical iPhone? I see so many going to real estate, so many cheesy real estate videos of just iPhone selfies. Like, hey guys,
Shaky
today
footage.
shaky footage. It's like cringe. It's like, bro, like I'll give you props for trying to make content, because creating content is definitely is a step, but like creating dope content, and you just can't expect the numbers that you're trying to get with just a bum ass iPhone.
Yeah, like I've said, like I've told Alberto, I'm like, if I was a millionaire, which I'm close to being, if I was a millionaire and I saw some real estate agent with the iPhone, fucking front camera going around the fucking mansion,
walk through, yeah.
Like, yo, this is the fucking foyer, this is the kitchen, this is the island, blah blah blah. And then I saw a motherfucker, yo, this is the fucking thing, blah blah blah. This is the fucking place. With the A7S III, like I would buy from the A7S III. I wouldn't. The fucking guy with the phone, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, is this a part-time job or what's the deal?
Okay, not gonna lie too. I don't know what music software you use, but I use Artlist. And I actually have a playlist called Cheesy Real Estate Video.
Oh god, I use Artlist, so I might need that freaking link.
I used to use
They love it. They eat that shit up. They love it.
Called? How would you go about educating clients on your worth?
Or are you still trying to figure that out? I mean, you could be honest with us, man. It's like,
yeah,
because this technically is your first year doing it, which is so fucking nuts.
But you fucking elevated, like, boom.
Yeah, let's actually, I got a better question. Let's backtrack a little bit. Once you got into the camera world, how were you able to land your first client? Like, were you reaching out to people, sending a million DMs, doing free work? Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
get that experience going.
So that's another. So I've always been aware of the industry and not wanting to undercut the industry. But again, everybody starts somewhere, and everybody starts this creative endeavor through doing free work. So I was lucky enough to have a friend that was a realtor in San Diego, and he was also just starting out in real estate. And this was before I had bought my camera, and it was still in the packaging. And somehow he said to me, "I want you to start making videos for me. And I'm going to trust you to just pick up that camera and to start to learn."
Damn.
And it kind of lit a fire under my butt. And I think with anything in life is you have to find your why. If you don't have that motivation, it's going to be difficult for you to be motivated to do something. So I kind of made this skit in my head like, well, I have to, I want to present him in a good light. So I kind of have to go through A, B, and C and, let myself make mistakes. But I want it to be quality, and I want my work to help out other people and not just be quality for the sake of it. But it could actually, I think that's the hardest thing is like learning that your work can actually help people in their business, in their life. And there is a reason. It's not just like an influencer world.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he was my first client, and I don't even know what gave him the idea that he didn't know me too well. Again, I just moved to San Diego, but I guess he saw something in me that said this girl is personable and can photograph and video people in a scene and has the eye for it. And yeah, I made a lot of shitty videos, and I did a lot of work for free. I was hit up on Instagram by people, and I didn't know how the hell to price myself, and I didn't want to undercut myself, and I also didn't want to turn down a client. So I'm sure I did a lot of work for, I did a lot of $65 videos that probably now looking back on them should have been $2,000.
I mean, you got to go through. You got to go through that.
You got to go through the trenches, and I think another point too is I didn't want to be that videographer that, from what I've seen, is 5 years is like that jump to expert. Like, I'm a complete expert in my field. There's still always something to learn. Videography is a lifelong endeavor in terms of special effects, but I've seen a lot of videographers who have, now that I follow them, no judge, but they've gotten to this 5-year mark, and they're still at this 1-year plateau in terms of pricing, in terms of skill level. Yeah. And I didn't want to be that videographer. And so I told myself, I'm just going to keep running and keep upping my clientele, and I'm not going to stop until, I'm not going to stop in general.
Hell yeah.
So, and I feel like from the fucking get-go, I just met you like 30 minutes ago. Like, your personal skills are outstanding.
Yeah.
Like you were, like, you opened the conversation like, oh, what's up? My name is Stormie.
You came in super like, cool, like, you don't even know us, and you're just fucking super chill, like off the rip. I was like, damn, all right, she's cool then. Like, she's. You even get off the I bet. I was a little nervous. I was like, fuck. Like, hopefully she's like cool. Like, because we fuck around. We're pretty laid back here.
They held back. They told me they held back the locker room talk. I guess the female videographer comes on board and they get a little nervous.
No, but we appreciate your energy, because that's the energy we look forward to. And I'm so damn happy to have you
hell yeah
on air.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to talk about, I know you talked about a little bit about social media in terms of like let's say like Instagram compression and whatnot, like you want to dabble into that, like where do you post? Like, do you only post clientele work? Because I know you said you want to get into the doc style videos, narrative style. Like, where is that work at? Or has it not been produced yet? Like, are you practicing in your own personal craft and throwing them on Instagram? Or is it just clientele work? Because from what I've seen, and I don't know if you have a personal account. I don't know if the one that I follow you is just your business account. Because you post clientele work. Yeah. So if you want to elaborate more on that.
So yeah, when I was first figuring out, videography is so much more than meets the eye, of course, than pressing record and then uploading it and then completely posting it. There's color grading, there's post-production, there's music, there's audio, there's so many factors. And when I first, you edit this video and you're just starting out in videography and you have this beautiful, it's crisp, it's got the blurry background and the bokeh and the audio's great, the background's great, the slow-mo's great, and you upload it to Instagram and it's this pixelated Mario Kart looking shit.
Mario Kart.
I don't know why.
It was like it came from N64.
like 80s Mario Kart, not like now Mario, like
Nintendo.
Nintendo Mario Kart. We're talking about like Game Boy or something. And you're like, fuck, like, and you gotta, it's insane. Like, I went on Reddit, of course, and looked up like export settings, and the craziest thing, like, you might have an entirely different export than I do.
Yeah.
But our work seems like probably on Instagram, like, to be comparable. So kind of going through that maze of like the fact that everybody does something differently and just like you kind of go with it. And I made a burner. I would suggest this to anybody that work with clients, especially. You make a burner account that's on private on Instagram, on every social network that you work on. You post that to that first, you check the image quality, and then you send it to your client.
Damn, okay.
Pro tip, guys. Pro tip.
Yeah. And there's always things like sometimes Instagram goes through a glitch, and I'll look at like Alberto's stuff and I'll look at this stuff and be like, okay, and I'll tell my client, hey, Instagram's going through a glitch. This is also affecting their image quality as well. So it's this constant perpetual, like, you want to make sure you're doing your research on these things, on export settings and what have you.
Wow.
But I forgot what was your initial question as well as export settings?
No, but I do like that though. As far as, but I agree with the export settings. I've been going through this problem since fucking 2016, honestly. Like how to export the perfect video. And I've seen a million YouTube export videos and they all have different, I've seen people that put fucking 4K. I'm like, bro, how do you do that? I've seen people do match high bit rate.
Pass one time or pass two times.
Exact. Or CBR. Like, it's like, dude, there is no perfect setting.
Yeah, like I told Alberto, I'm like, bro, like your shit looks grainy as fuck. It's like, I don't know, it's Adobe. And then like I see fucking Sam Calder's fucking wave video 720. I'm like,
I will say this. I honestly believe that people that have a larger following have better quality, image quality, like upload quality. I will say that. It's something that's never been said that I know. I've never seen this anywhere else.
Okay,
but it's like a conspiracy theory that I have. Like people that have larger followings, they always have quality, beautiful images, and I feel like that's not an accident.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that on video because I've seen Sam Calder and when he was like, this was shot in 720p, 180, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I sent it to you. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is a wave. This is a lot of pixels going through it. Yeah. And then I saw Manny Ortiz. He was like, I don't know how the fuck this happened, but this image came blurry. And then I'm like, bro, like maybe you had your Lightroom settings wrong because it's happened to me where like where people have like suggested on the video or YouTube channels or whatever, like, yo, like you don't need 300 megapixels per square inch. Just do 70. So then I upload to Instagram and I'm like, yo, does my shit look blurry, bro? It's like, yeah, bro, like hella blurry. I'm like, fuck, I should have kept with 30 million.
And I've done trial and error, and that's one thing that goes back to having a burner account because I've heard of that years ago. To me, that's way too much energy, for me to spend. But I understand why people do it though. Like you have that burner account, you drop.
It's the same thing as aperture. Like at a certain point, you just know that shit's in focus.
Yeah,
and you don't need to like double check it in your monitor or it just comes with time. I think.
Yeah.
And,
So back to the doc style narrative that you're trying to reach to. Have you been slowly working on that?
Yeah, so I've been taking the documentary course, The Art of Documentary by Mark Bone, YouTuber, and I've started
affiliate link down below in the description.
Affiliate link.
I'm gonna look
That'd
them
be
up.
cool. I'm all about that passive income.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think people have thought that I was a hippie. Like, Stormie doesn't care about money. Stormie's a free spirit. I'm like, I care a lot about my financial affairs.
link me.
and what have you.
Especially living here in San Diego. Like,
Especially
you need
living
money.
here in San Diego.
Yeah.
That's right. And so I've had this documentary written down for about 2 years now, some ideas.
Damn.
And it's now just coming into fruition by meeting the right people and kind of letting it come to you. I think whenever, especially in creative, you try and force something, and it's you do have to. It's this kind of hippy dippy stuff. Let it manifest and let it come to you. And writer's block is real. So I won't give too much away.
Yeah, of course.
Because I do think there's a lot of, and it's funny when you're researching documentary. I almost haven't watched a lot of documentaries on this particular topic, which I think I put in my story. It's roller skating, because I don't want to. Do you ever feel like you're inspired by something so much that you're almost cloned to or copy it?
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to happen. So
I feel like
That's why
me and
I
Alberto are
said-
always in the same boat.
That's why Pete likes to laugh at me. I stopped watching travel films on purpose because I don't want to fucking low-key
Yeah.
copy an accident. Like, it just happens.
I've sent them shit about like travel films. Like, I'm not gonna watch it
because everybody copies someone to a certain extent. Like, it's hard to be a pioneer, especially in the 2021.
And I told her, I'm like, respects. Like, I've told Alberto, I'm like, respects, because I'm the same way. Like, he'll send me a photo. I'm like cool. And then it's like Alberto be like, wow, hater. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, I don't wanna commentate because I don't wanna dig in too much and get aspiration and then that influence my work. Like, this is why I started this podcast with Alberto, because me and him are super similar. Where we'll be like, yo, like, you might like this, and be like, nah, like, cool. We'll keep it short. But like, nah, that's cool. Like, whatever. And be like, nah, I don't wanna like.
And not to be a hater too.
Yeah,
like,
we're not hating. We're like, we want to keep it original.
How often do you guys criticize each other? You know, you're in technically two completely different films, but if you don't know, like, I think photo and video are completely different realms.
Yeah.
Like, they have similar intertwines, like, as far as like exposure settings and what have you. But
we don't criticize much.
People ask me like, yo, what do you think about the shot?
Constructively.
Yeah, we'll do that. But for nowadays, like, I feel like he knows who to hit up when he has video questions, and I know who to hit up when I have photo questions. And it's just a respect.
What's
thing.
a product you guys have worked on together that you're like both? I don't know. You were feeling the flow.
The podcast.
I was gonna say the Potter.
Yeah, the podcast.
Yeah, we'll have times where we're like, yo, like, this doesn't fit our feed. Alberto's a mastermind with the feed and all that, and he knows how to build a brand. So at times there will be times where I'm like, yo, this doesn't fit my brand, but like, this fits like the feed and how it grows the company. So I'm gonna trust you.
Or
with
like
that.
we like critique each other on like, yo, you're saying this word too many times, kind of thing. Like, I go with him and he goes with me. Like,
I've started to say bro a considerably more amount of times.
Yeah, you're definitely from San Diego.
I embrace it.
You're a San Diego now.
Yeah,
but
but
it's all a give or take. There's obviously me and Alberto have this chemistry where we're like, we know what to. All right, like, yo, bro, like, chill on this, chill on this, chill on that, chill on that. And it's just a good chemistry. And this is why I think we're on episode number 42, baby. Potsky number 42.
Yep.
With you, Stormie. So
what advice would, and again, like, I think I've been hesitant towards, this is my first year in videography, but I've ran really fast. And what advice would you give me or anyone else out there? I'm 23 years old and you guys are 30 in your 30s, and you've been doing videography considerably longer. What's something you wish you would have told your 23-year-old self?
I would say go to Apple Podcasts, go In the Frame Podcast, and subscribe and listen to 1 through 42.
Unsubscribe.
No, as far as
I would say just
subscribe.
Concentrate as a photographer for a videographer. Concentrate on the story. Don't concentrate on the effects,
the flashiness.
Yeah, don't and
expensive camera gear. Don't fucking care about that. Like
I said, Stormie, you're drinking kombucha or whatever it was, like the color grading and the storyline. Like I was like, whoa, fuck! Like,
I was shocked. I ain't gonna lie. The fact that you're saying this is your first year of videography is like, bro, what? Like
I was like, that was an A+. Like that's I just say keep up the creativity and focus on the small details that other videographers don't look at. And yeah,
I will piggyback off what Pete said. Like, focus on those small details for sure. Like those little details, like framing, symmetry. Like I study the fucking great filmmakers out there. I just love framing. It's something that's very undervalued in my opinion. Yeah, it's easy to put someone in the dead center, but like I like putting them off on the right thirds and the left thirds and have that dead space there intentionally. Maybe have that background blur, just those fine details. Yeah, that'll make you stick out from the rest of the masses.
I actually just read about this in the course that I'm taking. Is a beginner mistake is putting everything in the dead center.
Super easy to do that.
And then I think what the coolest thing about videography is, surprisingly, I never grew up watching a lot of movies. I just saw my first Quentin Tarantino movie 2 weeks ago.
Please don't tell me it's not Pulp Fiction.
It was Django Unchained.
Okay, that's amazing. It's amazing.
I somehow couldn't make it past Pulp Fiction. I don't know if I'm just a degenerate.
All the movie buffs are gonna kill you right now in the comments.
I know, but yeah, it's amazing how now I watch films and I watch anything.
Yeah.
And you do watch it with an artistic eye, like, oh, I wonder how they had their lighting.
Oh man,
and
I'm always asking those
I
questions.
wonder what the pre-production was like. How did they get this person? How did they get Joe Exotic to tell all these deep secrets? Like, there was so much pre-stuff happening behind the scenes that I just now appreciate, that I think as the average consumer watches with like a glazed over, like, this is just how it is. It's just everybody tells their stuff, and this is exactly how this just happens.
It's an art to it, and like even you could probably piggyback on this, like asking questions. If when you do like interview style, like ask the right questions to make them open up. You gotta make them feel comfortable enough to sit with you and actually express themselves instead of just being cold-hearted.
A lot of pre-production, you know, like you can't just have somebody out there and be like, yo, like, tell your deepest secrets, go ahead, do it. Like, this is going to make a good story. And it doesn't happen like that. Like, the pre-production has a lot to do with it. I'm sure Alberto
Even
knows.
though we don't do pre-production in this Potter, but this is a little different freestyle, like, conversation. But, like, even, I guess you could technically call it pre-production. We just sat down for, like, 30 minutes prior to going on air. And we just got to know each other, get a feel for each other, get that chemistry built to the point where you feel comfortable enough to, like, open up to us. I mean, it's because we're fucking strangers to you.
And that's where social media is so cool. Like, I think social media is a tool, because I want to go off of it for a long time. I was like, I'm going to go off the grid. Like, I don't need this shit. But it's a tool for... Where am I going with this? It's a tool for leveraging, like, connections with other people. Like, this is where it matters. If that tool leads to a connection with people, leads to someone improving their business and getting their amazing product out to other people, getting that amazing house out to other people, that's what it's all for, in my opinion.
That's the whole point of social network.
Yeah. So that brings me up to my next question. Like, so you come to San Diego, how do you build connections, and how do you elaborate on your network?
Yeah, so I think when I first came to San Diego and wanted to get in videography, I was very, I think as everybody does, like this kind of mad scramble on Google and Reddit and YouTube, like how to network. And it's hard because you don't want to come across as like desperate and hungry for money and hungry for clients and hungry to do anything. And you also want to keep, like, I try and keep a very personable air. And I would give that advice to anybody, is like, throughout my whole career, I hope to be very personable, and I hope to be adding true value to my clients, and to be changing their life in that way. But also be knowing when, like, a client is also going to serve me in terms of, like, my portfolio. Like, I think we mentioned before, like, can I add this to my portfolio? And the answer is, I've done a lot of work outside of what I've posted on Instagram. But, and that's where I think quality is always over quantity. And you kind of have to look out for yourself as well. But I was very worried about that. And I ended up reaching out to videographers outside of my competition.
What does that mean?
So instead of reaching out to a videographer in San Diego, where we may be at competition for the same clients, I reached out to videographers in Texas and videographers in LA, which now I'm realizing LA is a little bit closer, and we can commute that 3 hours. It's a long commute, and I do it sometimes. And I did just start asking them questions like, what setting do you use, and and you kind of have to, I would also give advice to, you need to do the grunt work up front. You know, I've had friends ask me like, oh my gosh, you've come so far. Like, can you teach me everything you know? Like, I guess I'm like, I can't teach you 5,000 YouTube videos in 1 hour, nor do I want to or have the time to. So you can kind of tell when, like, if someone came up to me and they were in the same position I was, months and months ago, and they just asked me like a few questions, like then you're more willing to give them advice because you're like, they have put in the grunt work,
right?
And they just need that next elevation, maybe that next piece of advice that will take them to the next level. So if I could give anyone advice, it's like reach out to people after you've actually put in the work, and maybe you're just at a standstill and stuck on how to what those next steps are.
I totally agree. Like, you got to be respectful of that person's time, because if you're asking a stupid ass questions like, yo, what picture profile did you use, bro? It's like, dude, you could figure that shit out on your own on fucking YouTube. Like, if you tried figuring out that answer on all avenues on social media or fucking YouTube or on the internet in general, and you still don't know this freaking answer, then yeah, for sure, reach out,
explore all avenues,
and then let them know, like, yo, bro, I've tried figuring this out on my own. Like, I would do this if I were you guys. Like, I tried figuring this out, man, and I still can't figure it out, man. How did you do this specific blah, 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 blah? Don't ask the most generic shit like, yo, was that 60 frames or 120? Like, come on, man. Like, figure it out. Like, trial and error.
Not only that, but I feel like part of the frustration as not saying we're all pioneers, but sometimes you'll post something on your story, right? And that person trying to learn will miss that and be like, yo, bro, what's speed?
What's your shutter speed?
What's your shutter speed, bro? And I'm like, bro, I legit said this in my story, and I legit said what light I was using. I said everything, and you fucking didn't look at it. Like,
I said what lens I use.
Yeah.
I use what camera body.
Yeah.
Freaking, you always talk about the light. You're like doing free ads for that light at this point.
Sometimes I'll be like, dude, I'm in the middle of something. I can't respond to this really quick because I legit.
I'll straight up tell them. I'll be like, you know, I've spent so much headache looking this up. Like, you can do the same thing.
Yeah. And especially when it's there for free. It's like, come on,
for
man.
free.
They look at you like, wow, you're an asshole. Like, you're too cool for school. I'm like, no, bro.
And I see why, like, fucking older generations hate our generation. Older generations hate our generation because we're the entitled fucking generation. I can kind of see that, but it's like, bro, come on, man. Like, the freaking information is out there for free. Like, figure it out first. If you really cannot freaking figure it out, then yeah, sure, ask. Like, but be respectful of their time, man. That's all I say. Yeah.
And I think that's another thing as I run technically, and it's weird because it almost doesn't feel like you're running your own business, but freelancing, when you start to take on, okay, now it's just 1 gig a week. Oh shit, now it's 2. Oh my gosh, it's 5. Oh my gosh, now I'm turning away clients, and your phone is dinging off the hook. And I love my friends. I love my friends dearly. I have some amazing people and supporters in my life, but I've had to tell them, like, look, like, I only have enough bandwidth. My clients are first. Every day I put out a sheet of paper, and they have this, like, I learned this from the MLM. You put this white piece of paper and blue pen, and I'll write down, like, business. And I'll be like, what do I have to do today? And that is my number one priority. And if I can't get that accomplished, then I'm sorry, I can't always respond to my friends right away.
Sure.
So I think that was another thing to learn too, is like, what is your priority? And those people who are also asking for help, it's like, you have to take care of yourself first, and then you can then answer those people who are like on the way up, and as you should.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a way of, like, how are you able to, let's talk about, like, a little bit of since you're a freelance and you're still technically fairly new to this, like,
structure.
How do you structure your day? How do you balance it from, yo, work mode is off, I need to recover. Like, I need chill. I need me time. How do you avoid burnout? I need a self care day. I almost said self-medicate. Self-care day. Like, how do you, like, balance that?
That's a great question. Yeah. So I'm always been an early riser, a morning person. So sometimes, like, if I need to do client stuff or, like, edit, 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
6 a.m. And people look at that like, oh my gosh. It's like, but I also go to bed at 10 p.m.
You go to bed at 10 p.m.?
I try. Damn. Sometimes, I mean, if I have client work, like, I will stay up and, like, push it. Like, there's been many times
we have a deadline
where I have fallen asleep at my computer because, like, I don't get how Elon Musk does it. I physically pass out.
Yeah, cocaine.
Alberto be like, don't forget. It's like, yo, Pete, like, you lacking on this. I'm like, dude, like, it's late. Like, chill.
Yeah, okay.
I'll be telling him, like, yo, I'm going to sleep at 9:30, bro. And then I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'll post, like, at 6 a.m. It's like, yo, wait, what the fuck? You fucking up the algorithm. Like, yo, just chill, bro. I'm switching it up. But I get what you're saying. Like, sometimes you got to wake up early.
Yeah, and it's hard to wake up early, too, because, like, I'm so ready to go. My brain is most always, throughout my entire life of 23 years, my brain is most active at that time. And you can't send a client email at 6 a.m. Like you can, but I think I've read in my life that 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is the appropriate time to possibly send an email.
Even 9 p.m. is a stretch.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a stretch.
Maybe 6.
But email is with more of the implication that you're going to respond in the coming day.
Right.
Versus text is like a more immediate thing. So, 9 p.m. is like, yeah, pushing it. But so 6 a.m. I wake up. Is the morning.
Gotcha.
And I try and do like my yoga and my working out. I do think that is very important.
So you do work out?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I
do.
Okay.
And I think videographer posture is a real thing, and it definitely has affected me.
I like how we both feel like this.
Yeah. You're hunched over in this thing, and your back hurts after like a 2-hour shoot. You have to be very conscientious of it, because especially editing, like I'm a laptop editor. I don't know if you guys are desktop editors.
I do
or standing desk editors.
I wish I had a standing desk.
Mm-hmm. Standing desk would change my life.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a little off topic. I want to actually keep going with your routine.
Okay, so my routine, do that. I write down and I look at my thing like, okay, I check my emails. What emails do I need to respond to? What do I need to send people over this app called WeTransfer? Like what materials, like Instagram or something that my client needs to put out. And then I will do I post on social media for a few clients. I'll check their socials, make sure that everything's in order there. And then I'll always set aside a time to reach out to new clients, warm leads and cold leads and engagement. I'd like to genuinely be like, oh, that's like a cool post. Like that's right. I think it's very important to not just market on social media, but to also be involved in the community. Like someone's stuff if you think it's rad as fuck, tell them that it's rad as fuck, and don't always expect to get business out of it. It's just, I've always been about community in that respect. So being personable on that level of my routine as well. I would say that, when I get overwhelmed or ADHD, I'll just go for a surf at any hour of the day. That's one of the pros of being a freelancer is you do decide to make your own hours, but I try and be diligent in doing at least 8 to 10 hours a day. And sometimes it's more than that. And I think a lot of my friends think oh, you're a freelancer. You can work whenever. You can go out to eat whenever. You can do whatever. It's if I go throughout a day and I know I only put 2 hours into emails, into reaching out to new leads, into editing, into learning a new skill, I only put 2 hours out of the whole day, I feel like complete shit. Right. I don't know about you guys. Yeah. How do you self-discipline yourself?
Fucking make it happen.
You make it happen.
There is no magic wand where shit happens. No, you just make it happen, dude. You just gotta fucking be disciplined.
But when you were first starting out, yeah.
But I do have we talked about the other episode, I do have my vacation day or hour where I'll grab my one wheel like I did today, go to a coffee shop, get some fucking vitamin D, and have the sun hit my face, and it just feels amazing. I feel more alive. And I caught myself today at the coffee shop just freaking responding to all my emails and DMs, voice messages. I just wanted to
voice messages are the shit.
So it's such an underrated fucking tool, man.
You know what's funny? When
voice messages.
When we posted that thing, it's voice. You should. My mariachi started hitting me up voice messages.
There you go.
Wait, your mariachi?
Yeah, because I was they were gonna get hired for my wedding. And I was whoa, I had 3-4 messages.
Voice messages is it's such it's still an underrated tool because that's when they get to hear you, they get to know me. And I even did that with you when I asked you to be in the podcast. Y'all oh fuck it, let's go for it.
One, it's intimate.
I prefer it.
It's yo, they're taking the time to you talk into the thing, and
this is a stronger connection compared to a basic ass text DM. Yeah, exactly.
And oftentimes you can get the same, and I think the people I'm working with just did a podcast on communication, is you can often get something that would take 6 to 8 text messages and condense it into a 30-second conversation.
I'm all about convenience. I am all about convenience. I will fucking send a voice text all fucking day, because I am lazy as hell. I don't want to text for I don't want to write a paragraph or a story or a freaking 4-paragraph essay. I'm
it's not laziness, it's efficiency.
Exactly. But I like to people. Yeah, I know.
I've had clients who I've been on the borderline, damn, they're not gonna hire me. They might hire me. They're iffy. And I send them that voice text, and it's oh shit, they're personable. I'm gonna hire them.
Facts.
And then it happens. I'm oh hell yeah.
Pro tip, guys: use fucking voice messages, man. That is so clutch. Yeah. Seriously. But let's get a little nerdy. Let's talk about gear. You did mention you were rocking a Sony A6400. What's the rest of the gear that you're using?
lens.
Okay, so and I think there's been a lot of hype around the Ronin, which I do eventually plan to get. The Ronin, the gimbal.
Yeah.
You know, you want your footage to be smooth. You don't want it to have that shake. You know, and honestly, warp stabilizer is so annoying too, and so inconsistent to apply. Like I can know now, but I'm rocking the Zion or Zion. How do you say it?
Ziyun is I've heard it both
Ziyun.
ways.
What is that?
Alberto's
Korean, Japanese?
Ziyun.
What nationality?
I
is
believe
that?
it's Chinese.
Chinese,
I
yeah.
don't
Ziyun M2, which is
Okay.
very hard to find, but it's very compact and small, and that's what I love about it. It's like I could go to Vietnam with a backpack this big and have like everything I need in. So Zion M2. I got my drone pilot's license. So that's another thing that I did.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not as hard as you think it is, and I think a lot of people get deterred
beg to
because it's
differ.
like this. did you take this test, Alberto?
That was
Yo,
fucking
that
failure.
shit was hard
Wait,
as.
what?
Yo, that shit was hard as fuck.
Wait,
I ain't gonna lie.
what? Tell me. Wait.
Bro, you have
Alberto,
to.
before you say anything else, I studied for 3 days for that test, and I got.
Okay.
And I'm not like.
Oh no,
I'm-
you're a great test
know,
taker. Then,
no, I'm
because
not trying to,
I
like,
studied for
but-
like a week.
I'm curious to what was the hard part.
Fam, those fucking charts is so hard.
What are
like,
those called? Sectional charts.
Sectional charts.
Sectional charts.
You really have to learn about like real legit pilot stuff. Like if you're fucking flying a plane, like I'm like, bro, first of all,
Let's talk about
we're
drone.
never gonna
Yeah.
fucking fly in an airport, and the fact you're asking me all these stupid ass questions about airports is like,
Hey, Alberto was like, see your way out of it. See.
even then, dude, I missed it by 2.
Oh, damn.
Okay,
Oh, damn.
so you got your drone license, and what kind of drone are you using?
So I have a Mavic Air 2.
Okay,
And I got this because the guy in the hospital I was living with, he had a Mavic Air 2 and his footage looked phenomenal. And I did my research, but you know,
got
you
that
don't-
4K 60.
Yeah, I got that 4K 60. It's been great for me. And I think a lot of the things that happens when you're new at videography is you're constantly like, should I get new gear? Like, I want to provide quality to my clients. Maybe it's not good enough. You have this like imposter syndrome.
Right.
And I went through a lot like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to get that drone that can actually hold like a full frame camera on it.
Oh, you're bugging.
That's what was going through my mind. And then, you know, Sam Coulter posted an Instagram post. I use the Mavic Air 2 for
Yeah.
my travels. And all of a sudden you're like reinvigorated. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm professional. Like,
Well, now
I
he
have
uses
the
the
right
now he
gear.
uses the S or whatever the fuck that shit's called.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so you
my
got-
goal is to never crash, but I've clipped a palm tree once.
That's nothing. Anyways, lenses. What kind of glass?
Yeah, so I was rocking the kit lens 16 to
There we
55 for a
go.
long while because I like it's got this like zoom. It's kind of got this zoom
Internal
in
zoom.
effect, you
Internal
know,
zoom.
and people like that
Yeah.
effect. You can do it in post, but the moment that I bought a prime lens, my life was rocked
It just
upside
changed.
down.
What was
like
your
the
first prime lens?
sharpness, 35 1.8, which on a crop sensor is about like a nifty 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the look of a 35.
It's beautiful.
But I wanted something that was like extremely versatile as I was just starting out. And I read a whole bunch that was it. And the crispness, and it's like this.
That was my first
I
ever
became
prime.
a total bokeh whore.
Yeah. No, I feel like we all.
You're shooting everything at 1.8.
Everything at 1.8. And then I watched yours and you're like 2.8 is the sweet spot.
Wait, so what'd you shoot that, the hard kombucha?
The babe. Yeah, so actually a videographer reached out to me and he's like, what lenses do you use? I'm like, I shot that all on 35 1.8.
Yeah.
Sony lens. And yeah, it did the job. I had to stand a little farther back and, you know, everything's really
That's
close
fine.
up. You got to make sure that if you're going to use a nifty 50, you have to make sure that your space, and maybe call your client and be like, how much space is there? Because
Yeah.
you're
Are you
really
working-
fucked
Yeah.
if you're
it's
in
a
like
small-
a
like
small
this,
ass
you're using a
place.
50 mil,
You're
like,
completely
yeah.
fucked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and not to shit on anybody who uses like a zoom lens, but me as a photographer, I can tell when something's shot on a zoom lens and something shot on a prime lens, videography wise. I was like, holy shit, that was crispy.
Thanks. Yeah. So
And-
how often can you now I look at other videographer stuff. I'm like, I know what their timeline looks like. I know what their lens looks like.
Yeah.
How often can sometimes you not tell?
No, seriously. Like I love my Tamron lenses, and I shoot at 2.8 the entire time. But like once you throw that 55 1.8, which is that baby right there, holy shit!
can
It
tell.
just looks like
You
it
can-
looks like it's shot in IMAX.
Because it's closest to the and that's what I love about the 50 is they say it's closest to the human eye.
Yeah.
So
It's all about perspective. Me and Alberto always have this debate. Alberto says the 55 nifty is the best photography. I feel 85 is the best compression, which for photography. But it is up to interpretation. And
So your studio's got to be like, you have to have some distance if you're shooting at 85.
yeah, no, definitely has to.
I'd say at least to that window, to the wall.
How do you feel about the intimacy then with your subject?
Ooh, never thought about that. I never thought. That's a great question.
Great question. That's all about you making that connection. Just how you said, you've had connections that bang and some connections that don't bang. It's all about. That's when photography takes another level. Where like, okay, like how can you make the subject comfortable enough to pose in a certain way you want to pose, and I forgot what the word is called, but it's the directive of photography or some shit.
Director of photography?
Yeah.
DP?
DP.
You're often wearing many hats when you're in a creative field, for sure.
And they always say, like, how do you make the subject so comfortable? How do you make them giggle like this? How do you do this maternity shoot I had? How did you do this? How did you do that? It's all about connecting with the subject and make, like, yo, don't trip. Fuck what everybody's looking at you. This is your time. This is your time to shine. This is going to be stapled forever. Like, make it your time. You're paying for a good amount of money for your time. So make it worth your time. And then that's usually how it works.
So what's on your guys' shooting bucket list?
Shooting
something maybe you haven't done before.
I would love to be a director of photography for a film. Like I've expressed this in the past with the Potter.
So like in LA, like you remember?
And yeah, anywhere. Just like I love to film. I don't want to think about pre-production. I don't want to think about scripts. I don't want to think about getting the production as like getting actors and freaking get everyone on time. Like I want to show up with the camera with my AC and I'm framing and I'm filming. That's like my fucking shit. And I definitely don't want to fucking edit.
Is it hard for you? And I've always said that too. Like editing is my hardest thing too. Like it's hard to sit there for 8 hours. And like even though I love it, it's a passion. Like 8 hours is a long time.
Yeah,
like, to be
sitting on a computer
down.
screen. Yeah.
But I don't know. I if I would find it hard, and maybe that's just a pride thing, giving away my work for someone else too.
I did have that before, but at the same time, I realized that I was losing out on money by not taking more gigs and keeping the money flowing. So I decided to hire a fucking editor. That's someone that loves to edit. I'm like, bro, you love to edit. You're a unicorn. Let me give you this. Let me pay you this much, and we're good. So
wait, I want to piggyback off what you just said. So you're afraid to like have your work stolen, or what do you mean by that?
No, not at all. Just and I think that goes down to outside of videography, like the artistic mind. And I don't mean to be so pretentious in that sense, but as a visionary, you have a certain flow of how you'd like things to go. And I'm open to collaboration, and thank God for that. Like I've had people tell me like, well, that's kind of like not color. That color's not really great. Like here, let me show you this and let me show you this. But in general, I have a idea of how I want it to go. And for that to go like a 180 direction might be difficult for me. I would be open to it, but it would be hard if a client got back to me and was like, this is not what I envisioned. Then you knowing like, oh shit, like I entrusted in that in my editor. And at the very least, I can say like, oh shit, that was my bad. Let me fix this. Versus like, now I have to worry about somebody else like and telling them.
This is something that I will say that I've done, that I still do actually. So I don't have my editor do the entire thing. Okay. So I have him do the skeleton of the work, which is like file organization, putting things in the timeline in chronological order, matching A and B clips and synchronizing them. And then from there, adding the B-roll. So he sends me the skeleton. It's not color graded. It doesn't have text animation or anything like that.
Okay.
From there, I polish it and I give it my own taste, my own flair.
Yeah.
This is what they hired me. They wanted my style. So from here, that's where I put my style onto it.
It's not formulaic completely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's what I worry about is like.
And it's something I always say. They edit the skeleton of the timeline, but I polish it and I make it to what they want. And then I've never had a complaint. So
I think that's a great method.
Yeah. So like I want to clarify because Alberto has always said how like he hires second hand editors and whatnot. But then I'm like, whoa, like bro, like isn't that like kind of like your job, like blah blah blah. But then what he just clarified is like I don't let them color grade because that sets your tone. And then after seeing your like drink thing was like, oh shit, that's like really unique. Like I haven't seen.
Is that the only thing, Peter?
Was it? Shit, I don't know. That's what stood out. Like, I'm being honest.
Yeah, calling out. Let's go.
Did you scroll farther than the first page?
I'm not Stormie. Damn. That is my bad. Shit. I didn't do my homework. I was just like, this is what we haven't. I was just kidding, Stormie. No, but no.
Why are you turning red?
I'm not turning red, bro. Pete, why are you turning purple? No, sorry. I knew you were talented. Like, since Alberta told me, like, I was like, yo, like, cool. I'm just saying, like, the artistry. Why are we laughing still? I'm just saying the artist. Guys.
Name Peter. Name one other thing that I've done.
Stormie, I'm giving you credit. What are you talking about? I'm saying you're really unique because
Should we edit this?
No. Delete.
A marker. No, I'm kidding.
These two are too wasted. I'm the only one sober. But I'm telling you, like, I'm giving you flowers for your color grading because
thank you.
That's what I looked at and I was like, oh shit, like a lot of videographers focus on transitions, focus on music.
I will say that you're not a big flashy typical transition person.
You really
especially as a beginner, because most beginners fall in that trap of like, oh shit, I gotta look like fucking Matt Como, Colder, and all these guys that make the fancy shit.
You're really unique because, like I said, what grasped my attention was like, okay, you're really balanced. You really care about color grading, which for me as a photographer, that's the first thing that grasped my attention. So then after the color grading was like, okay, transitioning, okay, fine, that's like good. And then from there on, I went from A to B, C, and D, whatever. And you were really balanced, and I was like, dope. Like that's crazy for the amount of time. From obviously you just recently added me, and I was like, oh shit, she only has like 40, 30 posts. Like, what the hell? Like, this is insane. Like, for like your evolution was insane. So that's why I was really intrigued, and that's the stuff I'm saying right now.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's one of the most amazing compliments that I could receive as a videographer. I think I've learned the simpler. For one, I think that stems from I've never been a big fan of like CGI. Like, I'd prefer like Jaws and the cardboard boxes over like, who wants to go see, this is just my opinion, but like, who wants to go see a dinosaur movie and it's like, who's scared at CGI?
Yeah.
Who the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not.
I always think like back to the dinosaur thing, like Jurassic Park, the first one, that shit was fucking scary because it was animatronic, it was real, like that shit was man-made. Instead of the newer ones where it's like you could clearly tell it's computerized. Like, that shit's not scary, bro. Like, you could clearly see it's fake, you know?
Yeah. So, anyone can make cars explode, but I tried to have like a more artistic eye. Like, how can you tell a story, or how can you emit an emotion versus like based on content rather than just cool, like, intro. I think people are so tired, and there was a phase, and I'm glad for the people that jumped on that phase where those transitions were super cool, and now people are like, give me the raw shit.
Yeah.
So I just recently learned, especially in text animation, like, you watch a video and it's like, why does Comic Sans not work on a real estate video? And like, you just realize that, wow, people are just using like the nice calligraphy on the simple shit that's already in Adobe Premiere Pro on their videos. Like, you don't gotta buy, which I think you should eventually buy motion graphics or make your own to make like authentic real estate videos that nobody else sees. Right. But the simpler, if I could give that advice too, like the simpler, the better, and learn how to do simple better and then scale up from there. So like, now I think I've mastered simple. Okay, now it's time for me to learn more in After Effects. Now it's time for me to step up my motion graphics and how text appear on my videos and like continue to do that. But I'm glad I started from the bottom. I
feel like that's one of the things I attracted towards you. Like damn, like she got the basics and she's telling the story. Like, damn, like the sky's the limit for you.
Besides her first post, right?
Thanks. Okay, low key, and I will admit this. My picture currently on my Instagram and the first picture is taken on an iPhone. And that's the thing, is videographers and photographers, it's hard to sometimes like make time to get behind and everyone should make time, but
Stormie,
that's my next step. Yeah.
I got you.
That's my next step, is to get professional. Like, how can I be a hypocrite? And it is important. Again, and that's like taking yourself seriously and taking your brand seriously, and something that needs to happen, and prioritizing that. So before I go shopping for my new Gucci flip-flops, I'm going to get my
your
professional
headshots,
photos
your
done.
LinkedIn photos.
Yeah. And no, that's another thing. Okay, this is a tangent as well. When a client tells you, oh, can you do like $30 off, like $60 off? And then the next day, you see in their story that they went to Little Italy at the best joint in town. What is that shit? And how do you deal with that shit? That's insane.
I mean, that's why I don't
You would
cave.
DoorDash if you were that committed to your work.
I mean, I don't cave. I just fucking set my price. And if you can't do it, then, hey, man, so be it. Here's this person.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's as far as it goes, I guess.
All right. Well, shit. So one thing I do want to ask you, let's say this is the 18-year-old fresh out of high school, doesn't know what they want to do with their life.
Which was like 6 months for you, right?
That's fucked up, bro.
That's a joke.
We got dislikes.
Fuck.
So Stormie.
I'm going to look like this until I'm 30, and because I'm half Asian, I'm going to crack when I'm 60. I'm going to look like the old little woman in Pocahontas.
I know. So, Stormie, if this is you
that
looking...
Pocahontas was a Native American.
God damn, Berto, stop fucking my question up. So
no, it's from the Willow Woman in Pocahontas. Not Pocahontas
you're
herself.
You're right.
So this is Stormie looking at you 5 years ahead of your career. Mm-hmm. What would you want to tell yourself if you're looking at yourself right there in that camera? What do you want to tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself? In the creative space. You're just starting off.
Yeah.
You're fresh off the boat. Yeah. Let's get her going. Why are you laughing, dude? That's just fresh off the boat. She worked
born
in
and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, first of all.
She said fucking cruise ship, bro. Man, you guys are wasted, bro. That tripping.
That could have gone so many ways.
The listeners are not thinking what you're thinking, bro. Anyways, okay, sorry. What do you?
That's an edit point for real.
What do you give yourself as advice? Like, you're just starting off in the creative world. You picked up a camera. Mm-hmm. What's your advice to yourself?
Yeah, and it's hard because I don't regret, there's been instances where I feel like things haven't gone well with clients or the work I produced wasn't up to the caliber that I would have wanted it to be. And I'm glad I made all those mistakes because it's so ingrained in my mind now. But I guess if I could go back, it would be to have more dignity in terms of setting boundaries for yourself. Okay. There's certain things that, I forget that I'm also adding value to my client. So Absolutely. It's not just I'm getting paid to do something. And I think when my first job I ever worked when I was 15 at a grocery store, Gordon's Food Service, bulk food.
Gordon Ramsay?
They had a plaque. Gordon Ramsay, I wish. That would be cool to eventually do like a Michelin. I'd like to get more involved in food videography. I think it's so cool. Photographing.
What are you doing, donkey?
Video and food. Videographing food is so much different than videographing a person. Like, you got to make an inanimate object seem like super interesting.
Yeah, I'd rather shit a human being than fucking food. That's just me.
Yeah, I go back and forth. I'm trying to be like a jack of all trades. But, you're also adding value to them. So I'm a big respect is not earned, respect is given person. And some people might have a little bit of different opinions. But Gordon's Food Service, that first job I had when 15, destroyed my dignity because they had this golden plaque in the back of their thing that said, "The customer is always right." Oh, no offense, but that is bull to the shit. That's bullshit to me because... Can you call him the fucking
COVID, bro? Fuck. Yeah. She's trying to spit some bars right
now.
Yeah,
but you know your value and you know how hard you worked for that value, and it's a two-way street. And so to view yourself, stop with this imposter syndrome and be like, you always have to be reevaluating yourself and be like, okay, this person paid $35 for a shoot. I'm gonna give them $85, and if they heavily complain about this $35 shoot, like you want to collaborate with that person and get across, like, where am I going with this? I think you should edit that out, actually, because that sounds horrible. Okay. If I could give advice to my past self, it'd be to set boundaries within yourself, maintain your dignity, get past the imposter syndrome, and just keep going. You're going to hit plateaus naturally. Let yourself feel those plateaus. Let yourself not work for a week. DoorDash, do whatever you can, and just like let yourself feel that out. Be a little bit more self-disciplined with your schedule. And what else would I say? Just work towards professionality as much as you can. Perception is everything. And I ran away from that quote for a long time because it was given to me by a boss that I didn't necessarily agree with. And I don't necessarily agree with the way he treated me during my job on the cruise ships. but that quote did stick with me because it is only going to be advantageous for you to keep leveling up in terms of what you're giving out to the world, because this job is like, it is for the money, but it's also like, what stamp do you want to leave? We have this one life, and if it is coming from the heart and you can put something out there and be like, I did my best given my capabilities. Stop telling yourself I could have done better work. But you're not at that legitimate time frame to be able to do that work yet, and be like, yeah, I did what I could given my abilities and I'm satisfied with it. So stop being so hard on yourself and having this imposter syndrome, and don't let that adversity take over your entire dictation of who you are as a videographer.
I love what you just said, because it's like, at the end of the day, man, it's artwork. You know, if you're a photographer or videographer, that's your timestamp. Whatever the fuck date it is, you're either Van Gogh, you're fucking Rivera, you're fucking Aristotle, whoever the fuck artist you are. It is value to whoever hired you at the time, and they're gonna value that, and you gotta keep up to that valuation. And this goes back to like charging whatever you want to charge. It is what you think your value is. You know what I mean? Like, can you pick a beat or
as far as the kind of the
valuation of like your
kind of like the imposter syndrome, I would piggyback off.
How do you get rid of that shit?
Bro, stop consuming shit on social media.
There you go.
I mean, plain fucking English. It's so easy.
Yep.
Yet hard, because people are so addicted to their phones. First thing that people, when they wake up, the first thing most people do is go on fucking Instagram. And your mind's freaking spiraling out of control because you're getting so much information. And I believe there is such thing as information overload, information anxiety. So I would for sure try to stop consuming a lot of shit on social media, man. Consume the good stuff, like consume educational stuff. I'm always reading about shit that I don't know about when it comes to business and finances.
Do one thing every day.
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah. And then here and there, I'll dabble into some videographer that I see, because my algorithms naturally go towards the creative side of artists, I guess. I don't really see a lot of bullshit on social media. So you can't control what you could consume on your social media. So that's something that most people feel like, I see a lot of negativity. I'm like, no, you could fucking control that shit. Like, stop fucking crying about shit.
True.
Change your shit. Literally, there's a 3-dot thing. You click that shit, put show less of this, and you will stop seeing less negativity. It fucking works.
Yeah.
So,
and if you do see something that you do like, just fucking save it, and you'll
or like it. If you even if you like it, you'll see more of that.
Be inspired. And one of my favorite quotes by Bob Dylan is, inspire people. Like if you're not inspiring them, what are you doing? Sorry, I forgot exactly how it goes, but and that's all it's about. And I think we overuse the word society a lot. Like, society wants me to do this, society wants me to do that. It's like, it's all just how I interpret it. Like, it's funny because you can put out a video and someone can look at it and be like, I feel like society's telling me that I need to level up my videography game. It's like, why? You can just change the perception of how you're receiving that video, and be like, oh, this guy's just, making a living for himself. He wants quality work. If I want to do that, I can. If I don't want to do that, then I don't have to.
Right.
So it's also like changing the perception of how you view that media.
Of course.
And is it actually so negative as we perceive it to be, or is it inspiring, and can it be inspiring?
So my final question for you, Stormie, is what's your end game? What are you looking to give out to this community that is San Diego now, because you're from here now? What's your end game? Like, what are you trying to like
she says she wants to do doc styles.
So what do you so what a bird just said, docu-style, what's your end game with docu-style? What do you want to do? That
do you see yourself winning an Oscar one time, or
man, I don't think so. I'd be open to it. If that mountain comes, I'm climbing it for sure.
What's your passion? Like, what do you like really like? Okay, if I get the opportunity to do this, like, I'm going balls deep.
Bro, clearly you haven't listened to the whole clearly you weren't present. She said narrative document style.
I'm saying, hold on. I'm saying,
a river caught on fire in 1962.
Oh yeah, is that?
Yeah, Ford Rockefeller. He didn't start in Chicago. He actually started in Cleveland before the Clean Water Act, and he was just dumping oil straight into our river. And kind of like cigarettes, we didn't know how dangerous that potentially was. And all of a sudden, like, I think 2 ships rubbed together, it sparked. And we have a picture of Lake Erie on fire. And that's what we're infamously known for. We're not proud of it, but it started the Clean Water Act. And that's why we can enjoy the rivers now more so than in the past. Anyway, your question was,
what's your end game? Like, what are you striving for? Like, out of everything, like, what do you want to accomplish?
So when I first signed up for the art of documentary, I actually paid for a private call with Mark Bone, the guy who makes the course. And I was very worried about my legitimacy in documentary, having obtained a journalism degree at a university. And he looked at me straight in the Zoom camera. He's like, Stormie, get that word out of your mind. Get that word that you're not legitimate out of your mind. Like, I am validating you right now. Like, go ahead and just start creating and start getting people's stories. And I would say I had a very raw childhood. I saw a lot of pain. I saw a lot of sorrow, and I saw a lot of the real world and people struggling. And I wanted to make sure that I translated that in whatever work I do. So now I'm doing more real estate and what have you, but my end goal is to tell the stories of people who you necessarily wouldn't maybe know about, who don't have the money to get their story out there. Because I think it creates ultimately, like, I want to create a more empathetic and compassionate world, a world full of more sincerity and understanding. So to be able to someday actually make a living for some company, or if that's on a freelance basis through funding and grants, for someone to be like, I want you to go out and get this story of this person. It doesn't have to be third world. It could be right next door to me. That would be amazing. And there are possibilities to do that aren't necessarily always like they go to Africa or which are amazing as well. And that, I guess that would be my end game. But also maintaining this jack of all trades. Like, I'm a videographer, yes, but I'm also a surfer, and I'm also like love to do heels dancing, and I love to paint, and I love to cook, and I love to fuck around with my friends. So not pigeonholing me. I will succeed in life if I don't pigeon myself into one thing forever and ever. And that's where I see myself being a part of everything.
Well, Stormie, dude, thanks for sharing a lot tonight. It was pretty dope, man. Like, really appreciate you being here in this podcast. And like I said, being the first female creative, and hopefully we could encourage any female creators in the area, or if not, who is down to make the trip to Oceanside to be part of the Potter.
Yeah, you guys are out here.
Yeah, definitely. But
let's fucking move to the frame of the week.
Yeah, let's go frame of the week. So the frame of the week this week is going to be at I don't even know how to say his name. It's like Kieran Shoots. You'll see it here in front of Stormie's face. And this was shot in Solvin. I'm not sure where this is at, but anyways, what do you think about this drone shot?
Dramatic, bro. That point of view, the peak. We always say not the center of attention, but damn, that's the center of attention.
Stormie, you're a droney, so what do you think about this shot?
Oh man, I mean, it is center frame. But in this particular instance, I think that was a really good compositional choice, because it's just so stark. Like, when you see a mountain, it kind of looks like a hard nip.
Yeah, no, seriously, it kind of reminds me of like like the
no,
grid, like
shot.
the Grinch, like kind of like that. Yeah, so yeah,
it's obscure.
Appreciate you, Kieran Shoots.
As always, if you want to be frame of the week, just tag us on your heaters. And
I didn't mean that as an insult at all.
No, of course not.
Shot. It's just I think it's unique because you don't see a lot of rock formations like that
are super pointy like this. Yeah. No, never. Well, Stormie, where could people find you, and how could people connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me at Stormie Captures on Instagram. It kind of sounds like I came up with it because it sounds like my last name.
So the gang out there, Stormie is her real name, by the way, right?
Yes, it is.
That's
I was adopted
name.
with the name.
That is a fire name.
Thanks so much.
That's a fire name.
I do enjoy, because I often forget that my name is Stormie until someone brings it up. And it is something that I think people remember, so that's an advantage. But yeah, Kadar sounds like captures, and I wanted, like, I think you have Alberto Visuals, and I think you have Peter
Collins,
in your name, so I wanted it to have that kind of essence of like they know what I'm doing. So Stormie Captures on Instagram, or stormiekadar.com. You can find me there, and you can book some videography work if you would like.
Awesome. Pete, where can people find you, man?
PeterCollinFrames.com, Peter Collin Frames on Instagram. Where can you find you, bud?
And people can find me on Instagram at _Mendoza_ and on YouTube, Alberto Mendoza. Do you do any YouTube? Like, we didn't even ask this. Do you do any content for yourself to like express yourself? I know you're writing a lot for your doc.
Yeah.
But are you creating anything in the meantime?
So I have a whole Google Doc game plan of things that I would like to do for myself. It's just, I've just been spending so much time behind the camera, and there's always things that you want to stay on top of your editing game. No one wants to be the editor that has 6 things that they should have done last week, and then you have another 6 things, and then it just becomes this never-ending cycle. So eventually, when I find the time, yes. I have this funny video that I would like to do called Yoga for Videographers. It's just like, I think the best way for me to get comfortable and with serious subjects in front of the camera is to do stupid shit. So we could all use some posture alignment here with the videographer community.
Yeah,
it's gonna be funny, it's gonna be witty, it's gonna be kind of stupid, but it's also gonna be very insightful and helpful.
So okay,
it's gonna come eventually.
You're a very small frame. How is it for you to carry? I know you still have light gear.
That's a good question. Yeah.
How heavy and how taxing is it on your back when you're carrying a gimbal and your camera?
So I have I'm a crop sensor with a Zhiyun M2, which is a small setup. My friend has full frame with a Ronin S, and that thing is, it's difficult. And the people who do, I see the behind the scenes now of people who do the
rig,
the rigs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
The easy rig.
I have no idea. And I carried for New Zealand. I backpacked with like the hip straps and everything for like a year. And that was the thing I was worried about as a female small frame videographer. Is also another thing you have to deal with is like, I was scared of height. Like, oh my gosh, like, am I not going to be able to like, you can just step back.
Sure.
And then you can crop in like with quality.
So we got that 4K,
so
baby.
It just means that I have to consistently go to the gym. I got to go to the gym.
There you go. There you go.
So
adaptation.
No excuses, right?
Well, Stormie, thanks for being in the Potter.
Thank you guys for having me.
I'm going to end this.
This is going to do for episode number 42 of In the Frame podcast with Stormie. What's your last name? Kadar?
Kadar.
You guys can find her links in the description. Co-host Alberto Mendoza, your boy Pete. We'll catch you on episode number 43.
Deuces.
Cheers to that. Peace.